thin. Where do I begin? I swear, trash in the USA, while their own folks are suffering beyond all compare. Trash in the USA. Welcome back to the program. I'm live in the Appalachians, headed towards the Alleghenies, same mountain chain, but different names for different parts. Crossed over into a different state recently and have made very good time since stopping for petrol earlier this morning. Left at exactly 10 o'clock on the nose. It's now 1 o'clock on the East Coast. 3 hours later, non-stop since petrol. I stopped for petrol at about 10:10. Was gone by 10:17 back on the highway. Yeah, so since then, I have reduced the distance, according to this GPS, by about 43 minutes by adhering to the speed limit. Traffic's been mercifully light and the weather kind, although I've gone through several snow squalls, flurries in the mountains, but no accumulation, just lots blowing around. Hope you're all doing well out there. Going to talk a little bit on this stream about what's coming up today. I'll be arriving in Rochester in about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes in New York, and then I will have a meet and greet at 4:30 this afternoon with South Africans, refugees who are in Rochester. We'll see how many can make it. And then later tonight, meeting someone else in Rochester. Tomorrow, I'll be stopping at the Church World Services offices in Rochester. Whether they've contacted them repeatedly last week at the Rochester office, the New York office, and the national office in Indiana, none of which returned my calls, all during business hours. Sorry about that, folks. Switching towers, apparently. I must have lost the signal there for a moment. Yeah, I got signal back. Buffering was on my end. Remember, I'm on a mobile, so it's not so reliable. But my goal, as I was saying there before we got rudely interrupted by switching telephone towers, is that my goal is not a Nick Shirley moment. I'm not looking to get anybody in trouble here, but I am looking into the bottom whether there's actually good support or it's just one agent or what exactly is going on up here for these refugees in Rochester. But more importantly, it's to meet with refugees who've made it to America and welcome them to America. It was within my ability to do this, so I appreciate the opportunity to do it. And I will go to a refugee center that helps refugees, not just those who arrived in town. And so many have come to Rochester over the years that they have a place like that, and a legal aid office, as well as probably go to the city and see what they do for refugees. Rochester does for refugees. So that's all taking place tonight and tomorrow. Meantime, Don Lemonhead has acted like a complete moron. This is an idiot that knows nothing about the law, knows nothing about governance, and that's my GPS talking in the background if you hear it, knows nothing about anything, and he's out there spewing he's got a right to peacefully assemble, and seek redress from your government like 500,000 people did in front of the Capitol building on January 6th of 2021. That's what you have a right to seek. You don't have a right to harass private citizens in their places of worship. And there is no such thing as separation of church and state. That's just something leftist morons tell you. The state cannot establish a religion nor prevent religion, but it cannot. There's is the church and the state. That's utter nonsense. Anyway, I hope I didn't miss my turn here. I think I'm on the right turn. Every time I've come here in the past, I've gone east. Now I'm going to go west. It depends around this town, so let's see if I'm chatting with you guys. I didn't miss my turn. Now I think I'm good. I've come back from this direction before, from north to south, but never come the way I'm going right now. So maybe going to stretch here. But once I get another half mile forward, about a kilometer, I'll be back on a route that I know very well. Yep, so that was the correct way. Okay. Anyway, folks, so Don Lemon has committed a federal crime. He is a criminal. Remember when the Biden regime sent its jackbooted Nazi thugs out to arrest a father, a devout Christian, was sitting on a sidewalk, and they went to his home with a SWAT team on a Sunday to embarrass him and his 10 children. Remember that? Outside of Philadelphia. He said he was so dangerous they needed a SWAT team to get him. Remember these lying sacks of horse manure? Well, let's see how many agents go and arrest Don Lemon, who committed a violation of the FACE Act. The FACE Act is the same law that was used to persecute a Christian. And now racist, scumbag, anti-American dirtbags like Don Lemon are invading a church, shouting and screaming, disrupting people's ability to worship freely on the spurious grounds that they have a right to protest there, which they have no such right. It is not their right to protest. That is horse manure. Absolutely no right whatsoever. That is a private location. They were not welcome. They were trespassing. They committed a criminal offense of trespassing. Then they broke federal law, which is a felony, by intimidating the people who are in that worship. He said himself, I want to make them uncomfortable. Well, that is intimidation. And Don Lemon should be arrested. He's not a journalist. He's masquerading as a journalist. He needs to be arrested for a federal crime that he committed. Marie Swart says, drive safely, turn around. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah, so he's committed a felony offense under the FACE Act. That was a law that was sponsored by Ted Kennedy when he was still alive in the House Representative in the Senate. And Kennedy helped get that law passed. That law prevents people from obstructing people from going to murder clinics, also known as reproduction centers, abortion rights. And then it also does the same thing for houses of worship. Well, Don Lemonhead is a criminal and needs to be prosecuted. There should be a bench warrant for his arrest today. Judge Janine Pirro, or whichever federal judge is, or a federal prosecutor is in position to do this, wherever that occurred, should be issuing a bench warrant for his arrest. And all of the clowns that were involved. They want to sit around with their juvenile understanding and their lack of going to civics class in junior high school, understanding of how the United States works and what the Constitution says. There is a Constitution and their federal statute. As long as they don't conflict with the Constitution, like Brown versus the Board, not Brown versus Board of Education, like Plessy versus Ferguson, then they're legal. So this clown, Don Lemon, is a fraud. He's a criminal, and he needs to be arrested. He's been a has-been. I wouldn't even talk about him. I forgot about Don Lemonhead. Too busy being an ass, and got himself deleted from mainstream cable networks, and he can't get anywhere else now. So now he's running around harassing Christians. And if that had been a mosque and there had been Christians outside harassing the mosque, you can imagine that, of course, this would be national news. This would be everywhere. They'd be talking about how evil Christians are. National, it's utterly ridiculous that Christians can be harassed in this fashion with immunity. It is time for idiots like Don Lemon to face the full wrath of federal law for their crimes against this country and against the citizens of this country under the masquerade pretend situation that that's an ugly car. Ford Bronco, they're tiny, it used to be much bigger, and it is some puce, I don't know what that is, that's an ugly shade of yellow/orange. It looks like a yield sign. It's gross. I would buy a car that looks like that. Sorry, buddy. You're gonna make me vomit. I gotta get past your car. It looks like I'm coming into snow squalls again up here. You see the sun is off to the west there. I'm bending a little bit on the road. Crossing over a river right now. This should be the Susquehanna in the northern part of, well, actually New York now, excuse me. Yep, I'm going to the snow, but it's just flurries, no accumulation, blowing around like nobody's business. At this rate, it would take about 7 hours of flurries just to get any dusting on the ground. It's just in the air. So, well, thank you for the 70 rand for the trip. I appreciate that, Anna Kruger. It's very kind of you. Okay. Sound is not very good. I'm sorry. Should I take off the earpiece? It should be fine. What's not good? Are you hearing scratching, or is it just not loud? I mean, the sound is coming right through here. Is anyone else having trouble with the sound? Please, if I can get a few heads. Yeah, it's an ugly car. Give me sound okay, or sound thumbs down. Give me a problem. Sound is good, says Elmer. Okay, because people always say that. It's usually their problem, not mine. But if about 10 or 20 people are having a problem, then it'll be on my end. But this should be sound. Yeah, sound should be fine. Thank you. It should be fine because I'm using a Beats Bluetooth. Whew, getting a little warm here. Hang on. Bring a little snow in the car. That'll cool it down. I got the temperature down. But I got the temperature gauge fixed on this thing. It wasn't working properly. But anyway, got the thermostat fixed on the car recently. It cost me $700. Actually, I got a discount, so it's less than that, but still, it's pretty high. I did that in December, and so it gets warm in here. Turn off the seat. It feels like it's still on. Is the seat still on? No, it's not. It's just too warm for me. But about 87 miles out, that's 120 kilometers roughly. And so it should be there in good order. Thank you all for the super chats. Very kind of you. Very disturbing situation this morning. We saw that purportedly President Trump, supposedly, according to many news outlets, I did a short broadcast before I got on the road this morning. According to news outlets, Trump sent a letter to the Norwegian Prime Minister and said, I've tried peace, but you and your dirty country didn't give me a Nobel Peace Prize despite 8 wars I've ended. So peace isn't going to be my only path going forward. So that was described as a letter by Reuters, PBS, the public broadcasting system, by the BBC, by The Guardian, all of them full of crap. Actually, I'm sorry, The Guardian did give the correct link. I have to correct that. Guardian did correct it. The rest of them didn't. They claimed it was a letter. Turns out it was a tweet or a text message from Trump to the Norwegian Prime Minister. Interesting to know that the heads of state communicate via text messaging. That's interesting. But it was no letter. It was a text message. But nonetheless, it's a very concerning text message. I don't know what President Trump is up to. That's a disturbing thing to say. First off, the Norwegian government is not the people. They're not the people who make a decision on who gets a Nobel Peace Prize. The Nobel Prize for Literature, Science, Physics, Peace is done by the Nobel Committee, which is an independent organization funded by the fortune of Alfred Nobel, which is used to fund everything. So I'm not really sure why President Trump would do that unless he thinks that they have control over the committee. But it's a very bad look. It comes off looking very badly. I'm not sure. I wasn't sure when this thing was sent, the provenance of it, but it appears to be this recently. I have seen on the Norwegian government page the confirmation by the Prime Minister in English and in Norwegian. Not that I read Norwegian. Danish is a lot easier for me to understand reading, but Norwegian is a step too far. But apparently President Trump did send a text message, even though all the major media outlets simply repeated what they read off of PBS instead of doing their own research, except for CBS and The Guardian. But The Guardian didn't give us a link to the government site. They just gave a link to a Norwegian newspaper, as if anybody in the world other than 3.5 million Norwegians could actually read Norwegian. I mean, give me a break. A couple people in Minnesota, and Norwegians and people in Svalbard, that's about all that can read Norwegian. So, giving us a link to Norwegian newspaper is not very helpful. You should just give us a link to the Google Translator for it. Work a lot better. Can't you connect on infotainment? What the hell is infotainment? Are you talking about infotainment? Are you talking about the Bluetooth in my car? No. Bluetooth in the car is terrible. The sound with Bluetooth in the car is really bad. No. It's fine. No, I'm not. What are you talking about? Infotainment. There's no such thing as infotainment. I don't have infotainment. Anyway, so thanks to 301 people who are currently here. Appreciate being here. This action by President Trump, to me, is very concerning. We got enough to deal with. The Greenland thing is starting to become a major distraction. I'm not really sure what his end game is. We're not going to attack Greenland. All this does is give the lunatics in South Africa and in Europe an opportunity to squeal. I think that at this point, the government of South Africa really should stop acting like asses and realize, is this the guy you want to piss off? I mean, Trump he's had glove, with velvet gloves, he's been touching South Africa, barely doing anything in South Africa. And South Africa's done some very serious things, like allowing companies to export helicopters to sanctioned warlords in Benghazi, allowing South Africans to be recruited to be mercenaries to kill Ukrainians, also, allowing the shipment of illicit shipment of U.S. military technology, commercial off-the-shelf technology to China by a South African company founded by the ANC. Look, the ANC, by all rights, has done a lot worse to the U.S. than Denmark is doing. And he's had a very velvety glove approach to the ANC and South Africa's government. If I were them, I'd stop being antagonistic and realize that this is not the guy I want to piss off. Trump is not the guy you want to piss off. Either because he's unpredictable, or because he's a genius, or because he's irrational. Any one of those three reasons are good reasons not to piss him off. And the ANC is going out of its way to act like petulant children and piss Donald Trump off. Here, I know some of you are listening. Here's my advice. Knock it off. Just keep quiet and don't say anything, and you'll be a lot better off. But keep it up, and the hammer's coming. You've pissed off the Senate. You've pissed off the House. You've pissed off Trump. And, you're lucky that Trump is busy with other things. As he gets around to South Africa, it's not going to be pretty. I mean, look what's going on with a country we've had good relations with for over 200 years, Denmark. It's just not a good idea to piss Trump off. Currently on my phone. I'm going to switch to my laptop. Oh, well. Well, the Rochester, it should be fine there, Moonfeather. Don't sweat it. Hey, Mara40, what's up? Yeah, hello to everybody. Yes, Trump and Connor, the ANC is not very bright, and they don't listen to advice. Of course, I don't think Trump listens to advice, but I think he does. I think he does listen to advice, but he makes his decisions. So, one thing's for sure, this is a mess. It's all messier. 2026, we thought 2025 was spicy. You thought 2024 was spicy because 2 attempted assassinations of Trump. The sitting president of the United States calling for the assassination of his opponent. He's never been charged for that crime, by the way. That would be Joe Biden, saying we got to take Trump out. He meant to assassinate him, and shortly after that, 2 assassination attempts occurred. He redirected FBI or Secret Service agents to cover his wife, so that she had 3 times as many agents as Trump did on the presidential campaign, 1 hour apart. and the lackadaisical or non-existent coordination between Secret Service and local law enforcement led to the near assassination of the president. And we thought 2024 was spicy. And then the idiot, the blathering, cackling hyena in chief, she entered the race and in 100 days proved how you can lose a race, but still got 40% of the American public to vote for it. It shows you how stupid people are in this country too. It's not just people who vote for the ANC in South Africa, it's people who vote in this country for idiots. So 2024 was spicy. 2025 was, maybe 2024 was the bunny chow. 2025 was an appetizer. Now it's the main course. 2026 is getting really spicy, folks. We're still in January, and look at everything that's happened already. It's insane. We've already finally got a hold of the narco trafficker accused, Nicolas Maduro, and we've seen the slaughter of innocents in Iran. We've seen Trump now impose more tariffs on these European countries, demanding Greenland. It's getting crazy. We've got the State of the Nation address coming up in South Africa in February. We got the State of the Union address coming up in America. Trump will no doubt get a lot of boos by the petulant children posing as members of Congress or Democrats. And Cyril Poza will tell a lot of fairy tales and talk about Ubuntu and how many jobs he's going to create. Of course, none of the jobs he promised 8 years ago have ever materialized, or 7 or 6 or 5 or 4 or 3 or 2 or last year. None of the projects he ever talked about ever come to realization. Is that we'll go to the 4th industrial revolution, AI. You can't even get, freaking, flush toilets in primary schools. You're talking about artificial intelligence. You can't even protect your citizens from raped and murdered and slaughtered by the tens of thousands every year. And you're talking about artificial intelligence, 4th generation, and artificial cities. Give me a break. But he'll tell his fairy tales because that's what he's good at. And that's why people think he's competent. Of course, he's not competent. He's incompetent to the highest order. Unbelievable, his fellow Cyril Poza. So 313 people here. Thanks a lot, folks. We're in for a rough ride. Yeah, we are in for a rough ride. Yeah, it does not really sound. Press Trump. Yeah, Trump has never done pretty, that's true. Trump has always been crass and bold, but effective. That's the thing. He's been effective. But it gets difficult to understand where he's going or to support him when things like this come out. That's a crazy statement. I mean, why would you send that to the Norwegians? I mean, you want to say it to them. I got it. Say it to them. But don't put it in something that can be saved for record and used as proof unless that was his intent. I guess he really is truly bumhurt that he didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize. Quite frankly, he did deserve it. But the Nobel Committee are just a bunch of lunatic leftists. That's what they've cheapened the Nobel Prize ever since they gave it to Yasser Arafat. They gave it to Mandela and de Klerk. That was questionable for both of them. But the historic moment, they got credit for it, even though the two of them are only partially responsible for it. But when they gave it to Yasser Arafat, it lost all value. It just became a cheap gimmick to give out the Peace Prize. When Yasser Arafat gets a Nobel Peace Prize, you know it's bullshit. Just saying. Joe Rogan went woke. Well, Joe Rogan's a leftist. He's always been leftist. He never went woke. He was woke. See, that's the thing. I told people all this time. They're all like, Joe Rogan's amazing. I'm like, Joe Rogan to me is that not funny handyman from news radio back in the 1990s. I didn't know him from MMA days, and I don't watch the Fear Factor because it was a retarded program, making people eat bugs and crap in their pants. I mean, that's not funny or even entertaining. That's really lowbrow. So I barely know much about Rogan. He started this podcast, and it's really popular, and I don't know why. He doesn't know anything, and he's a leftist. It's like our senator in Pennsylvania, John Fetterman. Oh, do you think Fetterman become Republican? No, there's no way. The guy is a leftist. He's also a closet racist based on his own actions. People forget about that. Just because, his medicine got balanced right, and for once he's talking rationally, doesn't mean that he's conservative. You can't trust that. I still don't trust Lindsey Graham. Trust that guy at all. He's a freaking, neocon as far as I'm concerned. You can't just glom onto people because they suddenly have your views. It's like people come on to me, and when I started my channel, some people who are racist came on my channel because I'm white and I'm very light-skinned and I spoke up for minority rights, and they assume I must be a racist like they are, so they watch my program. And then when I say things about, respecting people of, other ethnicities and other races, that pisses them off because they're racist, and they screw off and leave my channel, and they think that hurts my feelings. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I'm not a racist like you are, and if you think I'm a racist, then you shouldn't be watching my program. And as soon as you realize that I'm not a racist, then you can foot sick, and I have no problem with that. That happened with a number of people early on in the program. Their feelings were hurt. They're pissed off because I didn't spew the racist garbage that they wanted. I don't do that. Human beings are human beings. If they were different races, they wouldn't be able to breed. You couldn't knock boots and have offspring. It just wouldn't work. It just doesn't work that way. So, anyway, if people say some of the things you like, that's great. Support them. Joe Rogan said a lot of things in the past years a lot of people liked. But I said all along, Joe Rogan's a leftist. He's not a conservative. It's like people like Bill Maher. Bill Maher is switched on. No, Bill Maher is a leftist. It's just that the Democrats have gotten so far off the reservation that he sounds like he makes sense. Oh, come on, pass already. Okay, there we go. Yeah, he sounds like he makes sense, but Bill Maher doesn't make sense. He only makes sense in a world where Democrats believe that boys are girls and girls are boys, and that boys can have babies. In a world like that, Bill Maher makes sense because that's where the Democrats are. They're so idiotic, so demonically possessed, so off the charts, ridiculous, asinine, and lunatics that Bill Maher makes sense. So Bill Maher is not a conservative. He's not centrist. He's not a rational guy. But he does make rational arguments because these people are such lunatics that it just makes sense. Am I making sense, guys? Yeah, he is a leftist, exactly. Greenland will make Greenland great again. Yeah. Anyway, so you guys agree with that? Okay, cool. Yes, Bill Maher does use logic. I'm not arguing it, but he didn't use logic when he attacked the right. He used to aggressively attack the right and make fun of George Bush when George Bush did things that made sense because he didn't like the Iraq War. And so he whined about the Iraq War, and he was just ridiculous. I don't forget Bill Maher. I remember his whole thing. He was the unfunny guy on Saturday Night Live, along with so many others. Like that one guy that looks like a chia pet now. What's his name? Retarded little guy. Anyway, and Sanford, those guys, the people on Saturday Night Live. But yeah, Bill Maher was on Saturday Night Live, and he was not entertaining. He wasn't funny. And he's good at what he does, but he only sounds good and someone that people want to follow primarily because the left is so crazy. It's just so crazy. They're batshit crazy. They've lost their marbles. They absolutely have lost their marbles. Here's the New York State rest stop. There's a building inside, map and everything that I'll pass. Don't really need a map in New York. No guarantee there'd be one in there. So that took a while, 20 miles in before I finally hit one. So let me see. It's a small building too. Boy, the one in Pennsylvania are massive. Oh, it's just a toilet. There's no building in there. Now, for some reason, a truck back here got in the left lane with one headlight, and he's been camping in that overtaking lane. Don't know what his deal was. Anyway. Yep, fundamentally leftist at heart. Oh, that's an acronym. Yeah, Republican name only. Rhino. Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Mitch McConnell, a whole bunch of Republicans in name only. They're not really Republicans. They're not conservatives. They're country club Republicans. They're social elites and rich turds who pretend to be Republican, but when the chips are down, they're not conservative, they're not Republican. They just do what they want, say what they want. So yeah, that shit's done. Yes, keep left in half a mile. Got it, sweetheart. Some cars talking. So I'm passing through mountains here that run east and west, and these are gaps between the mountains, natural and cut ones too, mostly natural. This guy's towing a broken down car on his local 2 cars. Erie's that way, which will take you west to Erie, Pennsylvania. We're not going north to Rochester. Sandep's going to send some tackies. Love the jersey. Yeah, this is mine. I like this one here. It's got a nice pocket right here. There's a pocket or something. There it is. So, yeah, I got another 68 miles to go. So, a little over 100 kilometers to go. Rochester's 74, but I'm on the south side of Rochester. Make a good time. Let's see how long it says. It says 2:27. Originally it was 3 o'clock, but then I stopped for petrol, and it pushed it to 3:07, then to 3:12 by the time, 3:22 by the time I got back on the road. So 3:22 back to 2:27. I've cut almost an hour off the travel. I'm following the speed limit, so I'm not speeding, which is good because I passed a lot of cops in Pennsylvania. But the traffic's mercifully light, and I got very lucky in a few places where you have all these slowdowns in Pennsylvania because you go through these little muckety-muck towns with all the robots. I caught almost all the green lights. Almost all of them went straight through. So that really, I mean, the one town I've spent 20 minutes before because traffic in the summertime is miserable. It's horrible in Pennsylvania, down around 15. But today, I think I was out there in about 5 minutes through the town. It's a highway with shops going right through the town. And you got all these robots, probably about 20 robots, 15, 20 robots, and you can sit there forever. It takes forever. So I got through pretty quickly, about 6 kilometers after I went through. Honestly, I'm not on the way to South Africa. Yeah, I know it's a GPS in the car. It talks to me. I just put it in not because I need a GPS to figure out where I'm going. I just like to count down the distance. I can do it in my head, but my head's accurate, but not pinpoint accuracy. So it's like telling time. Most of the time, no matter where I'm at any time of day, even at night, I get a pretty close. Daytime for sure. I usually get within 5 or 10 minutes. I can say, well, it's like 1:26 right now. Yeah, just by my circadian rhythms or I don't know, whatever the hell it is, it works. Works in the southern hemisphere, works in the northern hemisphere. I don't know if it'll work in space. I've never been in space. So that, and also my ability to find my way around, just not boasting, just some people have that ability. And I could have been a tracker, I suppose, in a different life. So I had the same skills. But yeah, so I always get a kick out of people who get lost going to the mall or crossing town. I'm like, how'd you get lost? I don't understand that. Anyway, but at night I can get a pretty good guess of the time, especially if I've been awake. But if I wake up, a lot of times I get a feel for what time it is. I'm usually pretty close. It's weird. I don't know how I do that at night. It's not something I consciously do. It's just something my body does. Anyway, now after 3.5 hours, my feet are starting to bother me in this trip. Yeah, been pretty good. Going for something important. We'll let you know later. Let know what's going on. Are people leaving, or what's joining, or what's the waving? What am I? I'm missing something in chat here. It's been very smooth up till now and very comfortable. Suddenly my feet are bothering me because I'm talking so much. But I'm looking at this really cool mountainside in front of me, where there's a big open field and there's forest on each side, and it kind of sways this way like a river, but it's got snow covered. And these hideous windmills are on top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's like Port Elizabeth, except it's got snow. Port Elizabeth doesn't get snow like this. So there's a wind farm outside Port Elizabeth, I don't know, 40, 50 kilometers. It just looks hideous. This looks hideous too. But the mountainside looks beautiful until you see all these damn windmills projected over. Really ugly. Lots of pull-offs in the middle of the highway here. It's a divided highway. 2 lanes on this side, interstate, 2 lanes on that side. But lots of places in the middle, a place in the middle where cops can pull in to give you speeding tickets. I don't mess around here. I've had one nasty experience with a cop who lied, and I drove 6 hours to come up here and fight the ticket because he lied. I won. Bastard. It cost me a lot of time and gas, but I won the case. Trying to get a damn speeding ticket against those bullshit. It wasn't speeding. Now, I don't mess around New York State. Cops here, they got a job to do, but at least the ones I've interacted with outside New York City. Cops in New York City I've dealt with very professional in my experience, but outside New York City, I've only run into a couple of cops and pulled over once, and they're just assholes. That's how I run into. But I mean, you can't count the police as being assholes because one person. Well, somebody gave a membership. Thank you, Francois Ferrer. Got it. Or you sent it. Who's going to know what it got? Is somebody got it. I can't see who it was. Who was that? Just something. Right. Should take an AMPM signal directly linked to Cyril and funding to run. Oh, well, I've talked a lot about that. Who is that? Eugene Scott? I've talked a lot about that. So here's the problem. This is the stuff that the public doesn't know, doesn't realize. Some of it's coming out now. Some of it I talked about in the past. Beyond